Hi guys, so today I'm going to go over the MIA Japanese support plugin. This is the new version that's been completely reworked and it's being released on beta today. Well, first let's take a look at the installation. Once you've downloaded the file, simply double click it and make sure that you have WinRAR or something like it. I think any application that unzips will do just fine. Okay. So let's take a look. What we want to do is go ahead and open the Anki add-ons folder. If you don't know how to open it, let's take a look. I'm going to check it out with this profile here. We go to Tools and then Add-ons and then View Files. If you click View Files, then it will open up this folder. Once you've opened up that folder, then simply drag in, I've already done this guys, but simply drag in the folder and the plugin is actually installed. As simply as that. Okay, that's it for the installation. Okay guys, once the plugin is installed, what we want to do next is open up Anki. If you have multiple profiles, this screen is shown first. If you don't, it will go directly into the Anki main window. So I've made a profile for testing, so I'm going to go ahead and load that up. This is a brand new profile for this video. So let's take a look at the core features. Okay, when you open up the editor by either pressing Add, or when you're reviewing a card and press Edit, or in the bottom of the Browse menu, there are no cards created so you can't see it. There will be the editor. You will see that there are 3 new buttons added to the top of the button menu here. Okay, we can see one Bun, Go, and Saku. So first I'm going to introduce what each of these buttons do without talking about how you can customize the plugin and configure these buttons to work as you wish them to. So first let's just look over their core functionality. These buttons also each have a hotkey. If you hover over each button, you can see what the hotkey is. Let's take a look. So F2, F3, and F4. In the current rendition of the add-on, you can't change what these hotkeys are without going into the code, but in a future version, actually very soon, probably in a week or two, within a week or two, I'll make sure to add that feature in to the configuration. Okay guys, let's begin by adding a card. Okay, we can just make it something simple. Okay, so let's take a look. If we press the Bun button, this generates readings and Kana for the entire sentence. And if we have all features turned on, it will also generate pitch graphs and add the sound of each word to the back of the card. So let's take a look at this. Let's add the card, close this out, and browse our Anki deck. So let's take a look at that card. We can click MIA Japanese, which are all of the cards of that node type, MIA Japanese. Let's take a look. And let's click Preview. Okay, when we click Preview, we can see that several things are happening. But what exactly is happening? Well, what I'm trying to show here is that there are several modes. There are several display modes associated with this add-on. Let's get into them. You can see the first mode simply displays kanji. Okay, if we hover over, we can see that we have information about the pitch accent of each word. We'll get into this later. This is simply a demonstration of the different modes without going into specifics. This mode, you can see, has each kanji colored, or each word colored, by their pitch accent type. So this one is Nakadaka, so it's colored orange. or yellow-orange. So we can change these colors later, which I'll go into as well. This is green because it's Odaka, and red because it's a Tamadaka. If we keep going, we can see that this mode includes the reading above each character. And then there's a mode with the reading and also the color. If we keep going, there is another mode. This is simply a mode with just the reading, no color information. Or we can hover and get the reading and the color information. Okay. And then the final mode is just a reading mode. This mode will just put the kana for each word. So you can practice reading kana if you would like to. And of course this is kana with color as well. Okay, it's important to note as well that this is not the regular layout for the MIA Japanese no type. I've edited this layout so that we can look at every single mode that the add-on has to offer. Okay, now I also have changed the GraphsOnHover feature to off. So you can see that these features are independent from the feature that has a pitch graph appear under the word when you hover over it. That's separate. That's a separate feature completely from these features that display the colors or the furigana for each character. Okay, anyways, now you've seen the boon mode and what it does. So let's take a look at this again. We can study this card and we can see that we see the same thing. Okay, let's edit the card in the editor now, and let's take a look at the Saku button. If we press the Saku button, everything is deleted and the card is returned to its original layout. Okay, and we're also going to remove all of this so that I can show you the Go feature. Now the Go feature, what it does is it looks for the first word that it can find in the dictionary, and depending on its configuration will export both the reading and the pitch accent information into the currently selected field, and will also export pitch graphs and audio to the field that's been designated for export. So let's take a look. If we press Go or press F3, it's going to go ahead and add the information just for this word. We can press either before the word, so let's delete it again. We can either press before the word, or we can actually just highlight the entire word and then press it. The same thing happens either way. This mode can be especially useful if you set its settings to not include the reading and accent information, because one can simply use boon and generate all of the readings and accent information for each word in a sentence, and then afterwards use Go to just get the audio and pitch graphs, or just either the audio or the pitch graphs for each individual word of interest. They don't have to do it for all of the words in a sentence. Okay, so let's take a look at the actual card again. We can see that since nothing is generated, the text is just shown as plain text for every single different option, which we'll go into later, like I said, in detail. Okay, if you press Show Answer, we will see that there is audio on the back of the card, however, because that was added earlier, and we will see the pitch graphs as well. So let's press Control Z, or let's just re-study the card and we can see it again. The audio is on the back of the card. Okay, let's take a look one more time here. We can do the same thing for ski, right? Okay, so we've generated that. We take a look. and the audio is on the back of the card. And now that we've kept the reading information, we can also see that reflected for that word. You can see it reflected here. Both the Furigana and the PitchAccent information is now reflected. There's a lot more to this, but I'm going to go into it in the details when I go over the actual configuration. So let's take a look. We can see that in parentheses there's some information following a word, and then there is a space following that word. Now the spaces around words are very important, not at the beginning of a sentence, but they are important to signify to the plugin what is a word, what delineates a word. Okay, so they have to be followed by a space once it's generated. Now this is done automatically, and spaces will also be removed automatically, but if one is going to edit the text themselves, they need to keep that in mind. Now guys, the really cool thing about this plugin is that no HTML classes are added, no HTML elements or classes are added to the backside of the card. So it's actually a completely clean format. Okay, so guys, what if you want spaces to be reflected in your card? Well, that's pretty simple actually. Let's delete this and then press some spaces before generation and then generate. You can see that the spaces are reflected, and they will also be reflected on the back of the card. Spaces that are there before generation are not removed, okay? They are not removed. So just remember that. So let's take a look again here. Let's delete everything and actually delete the spaces we added as well. Okay, let's regenerate one more time and let's see the real power of this plugin. Now, the real power is that everything is done again through JavaScript, and this even works on mobile. So if you change the reading of a word later, we can change it to Nippon, for example, and say we want to even change the pitch accent. We want it to be atamadaka, so we're going to put ne. That's immediately reflected even on mobile. So if you find any mistakes with the parsing, the beautiful thing is that they can be quickly changed and will instantly be reflected. Let's take a look at something else too. If there are multiple pitch accents, so maybe it's atamadaka and it's nakadaka with 2, with the kaku at 2, which means that it drops after the second one, which would be here. But this word, that doesn't make sense with this word. It would be 3. Well, the real one is 3, so we're going to put that. Okay, now let's take a look. Now we can see that there is a diamond added after the word, which signifies to us, oh, the first pitch accent is red. That means it's a tamadaka. But there's also another pitch accent, which is a nakadaka accent. I've turned the graph hovering feature back on just to show you that we can see more information if we have that feature on. So of course we can see, oh, it's a tamadaka, but it's actually not a tamadaka, guys. I'm just showing you that you can change it. Remember that. So the first one, oh, a tamadaka, then nakadaka with the kaku at 3. The kaku means the point before it drops. Okay, so let's take a look. Oh, we can hover over it, then we can see the pitch accent graph for the variant as well. Okay, so it really helps you visualize what's going on with each word. Okay, it's as simple as that. Okay guys, so now let's take a look. Certain words have more than one pitch accent. So let's take a look at what happens when certain words have more than one pitch accent. Exactly what happens. Okay, so let's go ahead and generate it. So we can see naikaku is a tamadaka, and then the soridaijin is actually nakadaka. So let's look at what happens here. Okay, as we can see, there's no comma in between to signify this word has multiple pitch accents. Atamadaka and nakadaka. This is different than having atamadaka, a, comma, whoops, wrong comma, nakadaka. Okay, this signifies that the word has more than one potential accent, but it does not signify that within the word itself it has multiple accents, as this does. Let's take a look at what happens on the back or on the card itself when this happens. As we can see, when colored mode is turned on, the first accent becomes the color of the word, and the second accent becomes the background color. Now guys, this is just to tell you to draw attention to the fact that this word has two pitch accents, and that what you should do is actually go into the edit screen and make the word reflect that it has two pitch accents, and you would do this by separating the words. Unfortunately, a lot of words that have two accents don't have the information of where those accents, where the words actually split. So it's kind of impossible to, without that information, to make it smart enough to split the word by itself. So what we can do instead, the second best thing, is we can simply make it into two words. And now let's see what happens. I'll make sure we have a semicolon in between. Okay, now let's see what happens. Oh, I think I messed something up. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, I need to make sure I have a bracket here. Remember, a space in between. And now we have it accurately reflected here. Okay? So now, the only reason that happens again, that the words become, like the background becomes colored again, is just to signify to the user that they need to go in and change it and make it accurate by separating it into two words, because it's actually, you know, the equivalent of two words from a pitch accent perspective. The next thing we want to look at is, what if a word has two pitch accents, but so let's delete that. What if a word has two pitch accents, but or has multiple pitch accents, right? But it's the second variant. So let's say that Naikaku Sori Daijin was actually Heiban, but it has a second variant of an accent that is a Tamadaka and Nakadaka. So what happens then? Well, a circle is added afterwards. So we can see that the first pitch accent is Heiban, and now if we hover over this circle, no information is actually shown about where the readings differ, because, like I said before, it can't be smart enough, but it simply tells you that the second reading is a tamadaka and then nakadaka. Okay, so it has multiple accents. It has multiple variants for accents, and the second one is actually a double accent, which is a tamadaka and nakadaka. Now, if there are more, it's going to go ahead and ignore what happens after in the circle. Okay? So we have to pay attention whenever there are two, because it's not going to be reflected. I'm going to make sure in the future that it's reflected, but to my knowledge, there is a single word that has three pitch accents. So it's literally negligible at the current moment, but I'll make sure in the future that the last one is added in as well. But for now, only the first two are, because there, to my knowledge, there's one word or close to just one word. It's a completely negligible number of words that have three accents, but I'll make sure to get on that later. But we can see here that what if it had even more variants? Okay, a tamadaka, or I shouldn't even say variants, because a lot of the times these are also commonly used. They're all commonly used, but I mean, that's not always necessarily the case either. So let's take a look. What happens? Well, it's going to add a diamond after those as well, so that you can see all of the different variants. Okay? Okay, guys, so that's it about these pitch shapes, as I like to call them, which just draw attention to words that have multiple pitch accents. Now, this is usually going to be on the back of your card, I would say, not on the front of your card, obviously. And hover mode does not include pitch shapes. Okay. Okay, so what's the next thing that I want to show you? The next thing I want to show you is that there is mass generation. Okay, in order to show you mass generation, I'm going to go ahead and import a deck and then show you mass generation at work. So now I've imported the Shinmeikai monolingual transition deck. Let's take a look at it. So if we browse it by card type, or we can just browse it by deck, we can see all of this, all of these words in here. So what we can do now is we can highlight them. We can highlight these words and go ahead and press generate accents in Furigana. There's no hotkey for it, but I don't think you'll be clicking it that much, so I think that's okay. Then you select which field do you want to generate from. So we're going to pick expression, and then you can select what information you want it to include. For now, I'm just going to show you all of the information. When I get into the configuration, then you can see what each of these options do in detail. Alright, let's go ahead and press execute. Yes, this action cannot be undone. Actually, it can be undone if you remove. If you remove the accents, it can be undone. But okay, so let's take a look. Now, this takes quite a while, guys, because it's searching through a pitch accent dictionary of something like 300,000 words every time, and it's trying to combine each word into compound words and then check if those are within the dictionary as well, to try to you know, get the most accurate pitch accent information possible for each word. Alright, so here we go. There's a lot of parsing stuff just still to be fixed, and that's why this is still definitely a beta plugin. So here we go. So you can see that generating maybe 1,000 cards will take a little bit of time. Alright, so let's look at the previews. Oh yeah, I forgot. This card hasn't been added to the configuration. So I'm going to go ahead and add that now, and I'll explain what I'm doing later when I go into it. So we're going to go into Tools, Add-ons, Configuration, and we're going to go ahead and add this card to the configuration. This card type, this note type, I should say. Alright, so it's a monodict Japanese note type. So we're going to type here. Now, I'm going to briefly just tell you why one has to add each note type to the configuration in order for it to be, in order for the add-on to be active on that card type. And that's because in order to make the add-on run, there's a lot of JavaScript added to the back of the card, and you probably don't want that added in on cards where that's on cards that don't need it, that don't use the feature. That's why this is for optimization purposes, and it gives you direct control of where the add-on is actually active. And I'll go into great detail on this in the next or in the section about the configuration. Okay guys, so what is the card type called? I think it's called comprehension. I'm gonna guess it's called comprehension. And then meaning, we're going to go ahead and put expression is the field, if I remember correctly. And now this is which side. We're gonna put both, so it's gonna be active on the front and the back of the card. Okay, let's press OK, and let's take another look at it now. Okay guys, now that we've added this note type to the active fields list, we can see that it's active. Now if we go to the back of the card, oh, we put both. Why is it not active here? I'll actually briefly show you this. If we go into our cards, we can see that where is it? We showed the front of the card. Oh no, we have morph highlight expression selected. Well, if we have morph highlight expression selected, it's not going to wrap the card properly. It has to be just expression, and then it will add a class wrapping the card. I'm going to manually add it this time just to show you. So remember guys, the field has to be the field name without anything else added to it. Okay? Maybe I can change that in the future where it'll just do it no matter what. But at the current time, it's not like that, and it has to be just the field's plain name. Okay, and now if we look, it's on the front and the back of the card. We can actually go into the configuration again briefly, and let's change the mode to colored kanji reading. That way we can see that it's active without having to hover. And now everything is kept in sync and it will be reflected automatically. Let's take a look. Preview, and you can see it's reflected automatically. Let's look through a few cards so we can see, oh, everything seems to be automatically generated for us and seems to be working. Okay. Okay, so anyways, you get the idea, guys. It has all the good stuff that we're looking for. Okay, so now that we've seen that mass generation works, let's try mass deletion. We'll just pick a few cards. Now this is a much quicker operation because it's not searching through many cards, but we just select remove readings from the expression field. Yes, and we can take a look, and everything has now been removed. Okay, so you can remove it if you so wish. Now for people who are using the old plugin, what you can do is highlight every card and go ahead and edit and generate accents and select the field and then remove HTML. Look, it asks you, are you sure you want to mass remove HTML from the expression field? This will not remove images or define line breaks, but will remove pitch shapes from the previous version of the MIA Japanese support add-on. So this will clean up your cards so that you can generate, regenerate them with the new plugin. Okay, and for people who just got their hands on the previous version of the plugin, if you want to later switch over to this plugin, it's going to be very easy for you. Now guys, this doesn't remove any brackets or anything, so if you want to remove brackets, you'll have to do two separate operations: remove HTML and then remove the readings. Okay, and then you'll be ready to use the new plugin and mass generate with the execute button. Okay guys, now let me show you another cool feature. Okay guys, now a really cool feature that's kind of just for fun, except for the Katakana feature. That's not necessarily just for fun, but I have some converters that I've added into this plugin that are actually quite a lot of fun. So let's take a look here. We can look at this converter, Katakana conversion. I'm going to turn that on, and I'll go into the details of this configuration again later. But let's take a look. What happens if we press preview? Oh, look! Everything is now in Katakana. All the hiragana has been changed to Katakana. So this is great Katakana reading practice. Oh god, it's really difficult, but it's great practice. We can again generate and then preview again, and we can see everything's in Katakana. Pretty cool, right? But that's not it, guys. We have another converter here too. If we go to the add-ons, oops, I have to select the add-on first, config. let's turn on historical conversion. And now, guys, later you should read probably all of this so you so you have a good idea of how everything works. Let's take a look. We can put actually kanji, kana, or both. Let's go ahead and put both because this is just, we're going to turn katakana conversion off for now. And let's take a look. What happens? Preview. There's probably nothing. Let's actually add a card that I know has old kana in it. Let's put like Ryugakusei and Tokyo Ku and Shibuya Eki, and then let's put Skyade and Iteita. Okay, let's go ahead and generate this. And now, for certain Kana conversions for the old plugin, it won't work if te and ita are together. But let's take a look. What happens? Wow, let's take a look at that. Actually, I'm gonna plug it in here because I want to show you on the preview screen. So let's take a look. Okay, Gaku has been changed to an old kanji. Look, Tsukaeru becomes Tsukaeru because that's the old kana usage. Now it's just changed to reflect its modern pronunciation. But you can see that it's a cool just for fun. Where did it go? Cool just for fun mode that you can turn on and off as you please. Okay, guys, that's it for that. It also works with katakana conversion, so you can turn katakana conversion on, and it'll change everything to old mode and then convert it to katakana as well, which is pretty cool. Okay, guys, so I've been over all of the basic features. What I want to show you now is how cool this can actually be to use once it's all configured properly. So I'm going to quickly configure this. I'm going to go ahead and show me configure this. But it's not really important right now to understand exactly what I'm doing. I'm just going to show you how quick and easy this add-on is to use once everything is properly configured. And guys, if you really have a lot of trouble with the configuration, you can just ask me on the server and I will help you out. I will help you out getting started with it. So let's take a look. We're going to do this on the front, and like I said, I will briefly go over how to do everything in this configuration file. Okay, so we're gonna put colored hover on the front, probably colored hover. And isn't there, wait one moment, I want to look at the reading field. What field is here? It has a meaning field, or it has a full definition field. You know what? I'm even gonna use that field as well. So let's take a look. Tools. Oh, I already forgot what that was. Was it full definition with no space, with a space? Full definition with a space. Okay. Add-ons. Config. I'll add a hotkey later to enter the config immediately because that's probably I don't know. Actually, once you get everything set up once, then it's not so bad, huh? But it's probably easy. It's an easy way to set things up if there's a hotkey to quickly enter the config. Okay, so I'm going to also add this to the back. So the back is colored kanji reading, and then we're going to add colored hover to the, what field was that? That was the full definition field, and that's going to be only on the back because that's where that card that's where that actually happens. I'm also going to turn off historical conversion because we don't need that. And then katakana conversion is off as well. And now I'm not going to go into this, but I'm going to turn audio off for the group export, which is boon. Boon is the group export or the group generation. And then I'm going to turn all of these off. I'm going to turn individual kana, DictForm, etc. off for all of these words. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, let's take a look. I think everything's set up. Okay, now let me show you how easy this plugin can be to use. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to press Control J and suspend a lot of these cards. And then I'm going to unsuspend just some of them. Maybe not even 50. Let's just do like 20 because I'm going to mass generate these and I want it to be quick and easy. So here we go. We're going to generate accents in Furigana, and we're only going to generate the Furigana DictForm and accents information. We're going to go ahead and execute that. It cannot be undone. Yes. So now this is going to take quite a while. I'm going to go ahead and be back with you when it's done. Okay, now it's done, and we're going to also go ahead and generate one more time for the full definition field. The same thing, without audio and without graphs. Execute. Okay, yes. Now this is going to take a lot longer because the fields are so large, and I will be back when this is done as well. Okay guys, so it just finished. That didn't take too long at all. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the actual cards now and how easy this can be to use. So say we have a word, let's say our word keiken is our target word, and we want to add just audio to that. Now I've gone into the config and I've actually changed the target field to the reading field. So the target field is the reading field for audio and PitchGraph exports. Now let's take a look. We can just export a PitchGraph and the audio for the word that we want. I mean, we can change it at any time to another word as well. And then this doesn't have audio, but maybe Toki has audio. Yeah, it does. So we can just do that at any time and export it. But let's say keiken is the word that we want. And then we take a look at the card. Oh, okay. We have the audio for the word that we want. We go on to the next card. Let's go. Okay. Let's edit. Let's add in audio for keka and the PitchAccent. There we go. And now we have that. We keep going. Okay, let's keep going. We have Jijo. Remember, we can just press F3 as well. We don't have to press anything else. There we go. Do you see, guys? Like, once you get it set up, it's like pretty, I mean, dare I say, it's my own work, but dare I say, it's pretty fucking useful. Pretty easy. Look at that. So that way you don't have to have the audio for all of them. You can just generate the audio and the pitch graph for the words that you want. See what I'm saying? Okay guys, that's it for this part. Let's get into that config file. Okay guys, now we're gonna go into the add-ons and config and restore defaults, and we're going to start off from the default configuration. Okay, the first area in the config that we're going to cover is the ActiveFields area. Okay, so let's look here at the first text, the first word before the semicolon, and it's colored hover. This actually pertains to the display type of the field. So let's take a look at the back of our card here, monodic Japanese. Let's look at our card. Or no, not this one, sorry. Let's take a look at this card. Now I edited this earlier. I'm going to put it back to how it was. So it's like this at the beginning, okay? So if we look at the back of this card, we can see colored hover. Okay? That's the type that this has been set to. So you hover over it and it has you know, the PitchAccent color plus the Furigana on hover. So let's go back to the add-ons config and let's turn GraphsOnHover to off first of all, because that's what shows us the pitch graph on a hover, and that's a separate thing from the display type, so we're going to ignore that for now. Let's change the display type to hover only, and it should be immediately, and it will be immediately reflected in the card. Let's take a look. Now if we preview the card, it's on hover we have only the Furigana. We don't have the color. Alright, let's go ahead and change it again. Add-ons, config, let's change it to kanji. Now this is nothing except for the kanji, like the regular text. Let's go into config. Whoops, not config, sorry. Let's go into preview. And we have to redo it. Okay, see? There's no hover. Okay, and then once again change it to colored kanji. Colored kanji. Okay, close this out. Preview, we have to reset it. Oh, reselect the card. Colored kanji. Okay, and on colored kanji, anything that's colored except for hover, you're also going to get the pitch shapes if that setting is on. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. The next one is, we can go into colored kanji reading. So now this is Furigana plus the colors plus the reading. Now guys, you can also just do kanji reading. I'm not going to show it to you now because it's just this without the color and without the pitch shapes. Okay? These are being the pitch shapes again. Okay, so it works. Colored kanji reading. Okay, and then add-ons, config again, we can do just reading. Let's change it to reading mode. Reading mode and see what we get with reading mode. Okay, we get just the reading of it, just the hiragana. Okay, and then we can go in it again and change it to colored reading mode. Colored reading mode. Okay. Let's take a look. Colored reading mode, select one card. There we go, colored reading mode. Okay, so those are the modes. We have, one more time, kanji, colored kanji, hover, colored hover, kanji reading, colored kanji reading. Then we have reading and colored reading modes. Okay, we have 8 modes total. Okay, now that we've covered the modes, let's take a look at the next part of the config. Look, the next part of the config of the ActiveFields config is profile name. Now guys, if we don't set a profile name or if we set this to all, it will look for this note type in every profile, and if it doesn't find it and you have it set to all, it's going to tell you about an error. Let's take a look here. So I'm going to change the profile to AddMIAJapanese2, and let's press OK. See what happens. It's going to tell me the AddMIAJapanese2 note type does not exist. Okay, so it won't let me close it until I fix it and make sure that the note type pertains to a profile that pertains to a note type that exists in the current profile if you have it set to all. Or I can just go ahead and set it. Look, my profile name is MIA Japanese Test Profile. I can also set it to that. MIA Japanese Test Profile. Okay, we press OK, and let's look here and see if it works the same. It works the same. Now let's see if we change. Let's go into the add-on again, config. Let's change this to MIA Japanese Test Profile 2. Now it's not going to check for this note type because we're going to say this is on a different profile. This is not this profile. So press OK. Let's look at the back of the card now. You see, it doesn't affect it because we're telling it that's on a different profile. But I think most people probably only have one profile for Japanese at least. So you can put your profile name here, or you can just put all. I'm simply going to put all for now. Okay? So that's the profile. That's the profile name part of the ActiveFields configure. Okay, guys. The next part is the note type. Let's look here. Look, note type. The note type. So this is the note type of the field that we want the add-on active in. And now, guys, like I said before, once you start the add-on, it's going to go ahead and add. Let's go to manage note types. It's going to go ahead and add the MIA Japanese note type automatically for you. And that's already configured. So if you don't want to go into the configurations, although I think learning the configuration would probably be the best, the best thing you can do. But if you don't want to learn the configuration, you can just use this note type as is. Okay, but let's say we want to use the monodict Japanese note type. Let's take a look at it now. This is the note type for that monolingual transition deck. So let's take a look here. We're going to generate, and we're going to go to preview. Oh, nothing happens. Why is that? It's because we don't have it set. So let's take a look at how to set up the add-on to be active on a different profile or in a different note type. Let's take a look. So we have this different note type. We can look here and look at the note type name. This is the note type name, monodict Japanese. Okay, so let's go ahead and type that in. Let's go into add-ons, config, and simply type in. We want to put this back to all. Maybe I didn't press OK. So let's put that back to all. Let's put this to monodict Japanese and press OK. Oh, but let's look what they're telling me. The reading card type does not exist. So let's look at the next field. The next field here is note type and then card type. What does that mean? Now let's take a look. So we can go either here, if we have some cards already generated, we can press cards. Oh look, it says card type. So this first card type is called comprehension. And of course we can add another card type. I'll do that in a moment actually. So let's type in comprehension. Edit, add-ons, config. So monodict Japanese, it actually saves it, even though it saves it when you press OK, even though it doesn't let you close the window. So you guys have to be careful. You have to go back in there and fix that because it still saves what you've changed. So let's type in comprehension, and we have the expression field. The expression field is a field. Let's put expression 2 and see what happens. Oh, the expression 2 field does not exist because within this note type, within this card type, well, the fields are note type dependent. So within this note type, the expression 2 field does not exist. So we can change it back to expression 1, and of course we have no problems. Okay, then we go to preview, and let's take a look. Oh, it's not working. So let's see why it's not working. Comprehension. Did I misspell comprehension or something? Let's look. Add-ons, config. Oh, it's because I think we have to save it twice when you make a mistake, unfortunately. I have to look into that. That might be a little bug for later, but press OK. Now it will work. It didn't save properly after I re-edited it. Let's take a look. Okay, now you can see it works, and we have the reading mode active. Let's change that mode because that's not for me. We'll put it on colored kanji reading. Okay, put it on colored kanji reading. Okay, let's take a look. Cards, and look, it seems good to go. But look on the back, it it's not working. Why is that? Why is the back of the card not working correctly? Well, let's take a look at why that is. That's because if we go on and look at the last configuration option, that's the side. Let's look here. That's the side of the card. So we can put it to back. And then it won't work on the front, it will only work on the back. Let's take a look here. Preview. Look, doesn't work on the front, works on the back, okay? Or we can also just add a new card type. Let's add a new card type. Not to this one actually, because it's gonna add 5,000 new cards. So let's do it to here. Card. We'll add a new card type to MIA Japanese. We can rename that card type if we want, or we can keep it card 2. Whoops, not delete. Rename, please. Let's name it test card. Okay, test card. Now let's take a look what happens with test card. Now as you can see, it automatically copies the contents of card of our first card, which is the reading card. So it's going to automatically add all of the JavaScript to the back of the card. But we don't have it set as one of the cards to use in the config. So if we take a look actually at the config and we just edit something, because when you edit something it's going to update it. So let's turn GraphsOnHover mode back on and press OK. And then now let's take a look back at that card type 2. Look, everything has been removed. It has been cleaned automatically to reflect the changes in the configuration file. So guys, if you want everything to just work as appropriate with the configuration file and the JavaScript, I would advise you set up your card first. Set up your card exactly how you want it first, and then go into the configuration file and set up the add-on to use fields within it, because it will not interfere with your current formatting. Okay, it will just add on top of that. Okay guys, so that's it for this part. Let's go on to the next section. Okay guys, next let's take a look at turning the add-on on and off based on which profile you're using. So look, profiles is another setting. I'm not going to go in order guys, I'm going to go in order of ease here. So profiles is set to all, so it will work on all profiles. Let's set it to profile Pro 1. So if the profile is named Pro 1, then the add-on will be active. Let's take a look. Oh, it won't let me press OK. That's probably because this profile doesn't exist. Let's try to put it MIA Japanese test profile. I should put an error message so that people know. Yeah, so it won't let you use a profile that doesn't exist. I forgot to add that in, but let's look at one of my other test profiles, and I'm going to show you. So Chinese test is another test profile that I have. Let's take a look and go into the add-ons folder, config again, and let's change this to Chinese tests. Chinese tests. Press OK. Oh, I guess it won't let me change it. Okay guys, it's a little bug. I'll fix it in the future release, but it won't let me change it, but it is actually saving it. So let's take a look here. It's saving it. It's saving it to Chinese tests, but it won't let me actually set it. Actually, that's not really a bug, because it won't let me set it. It's a bug that it doesn't tell you, but it should only let you set the profile if you're within the profile, which is actually pretty good. If you want to use multiple profiles, you can do like this: profile, comma, profile. I'll make sure you have parentheses or quotes around it, and then there you go. You can do multiple profiles as well. But let's look what happens if we have Chinese tests as the profile, and we're on this profile. We press add. Look, all the buttons are gone. Let's go into browse. edit, look, there's no mass generation. Now, the things that are already generated here will still be generated. Let's take a look. Look, this will still be here because we have that set to all in the active fields, right? In the active fields, we have it set to all, so it will still add this to it will still add the JavaScript where it's necessary if it's set to all. But if we were again to change it to Chinese, it's going to erase all of that. But let's change it back to all, and because that's most usage cases will just use probably all for the active fields, and then you can either keep this on all if you only have one profile, or just change it to your Japanese profile's name in the profile, and it will only work on your Japanese profile. Okay, let's go on to the next configuration option. Okay guys, now the next configuration option is actually just if we want AutoCSS generation, Auto CSS and JS generation on. Now this is what keeps everything in sync on the back of your card. Maybe if you want to edit, like if you know code and CSS, HTML and stuff, and you want to edit everything yourself, you can turn this to off, and it won't keep it in sync, and you'll be in charge of the JS and CSS on the back of your cards. I'm going to keep this on, but I'm just letting you know that that option exists. Next, let's take a look at the group Kana, DictForm, Pitch, Audio, and Graphs option. Now, group means it goes for all of the words. This is the boon button. Okay, if you look here, let's look for it here. Group, Kana, Dict. Okay, these are the export options for the boon button. So everything's written here. The details are written here as well, guys. But if you want to see its usage in real time, let's take a look at it now. So the first one is Kana. Let's turn everything off besides Kana generation and see what happens. So everything besides Kana generation is off. What happens to our cards when we try to generate something? Let's go down where nothing is generated. Here we go. Let me make this bigger for you guys. Okay, let's take a look. We're gonna press boon, or we're gonna actually just press F2 because it's easier. Okay, look, it's just Kana. Just Kana is added. Nothing else is added to the card. Okay. Actually, let's see what happens when just Kana is added to a card. So let's go to add-ons and change this back to monodict. Let's change this to both so that we can see it on both sides of the card. And let's actually see what happens with each mode. So we have, let me sort this backwards. Oh, these are already generated. Oh, it's because I'm at the bottom. Okay, hold on. Okay, here we go. Some ungenerated stuff. Let's generate it. Look at the preview. Okay, so what mode are we on? We are on, if we press card, we can look here. We're on color kanji reading mode. But there are no accents, so we can't add color. We only have Furigana added, so that's all we see. Okay? Let's change the mode again here, the generation mode. Let's go to config. Let's turn on DictForm. Now guys, this applies to only verbs and adjectives. And what this does is it gives you the dict form of the word of the verb or adjective, the dictionary form that is, on hover, so that you can see what the dictionary form is. I know at the beginning of one's learning journey, it's kind of difficult to remember how words conjugate and what the dictionary form of a verb might be or an adjective might be at first glance. So let's take a look. So here we can see that it's set hosu, and we can see that it's there. But when we hover, we get nothing. Why is that? Let's take a look at the add-ons again. So guys, it's important to note that, so first is the reading for the word hoshita, ho. And then there's a comma, followed by the dictionary form of the verb or adjective, okay? So if we were to manually do this, let's take a look. So we're going to put atsukute, and then we're going to put a, tsu, and a comma has to be a comma, like an English comma, not a Japanese comma. And then we can put atsui. So that is the format, okay? So let's take a look at the preview again. See, atsukute. It ignores the atsui. But let's go in add-ons and take a look one more time at what's going on here. So GraphsOnHover is on, but we don't have the pitch information added to the card, so it's not going to hover for us. So let's take a look now at what happens if we generate it one more time. Now we have the PitchAccent information as well, and we go to preview and we hover over it. Look, it shows the dictionary form. Because right now this plugin doesn't support PitchAccent for conjugated adjectives and verbs. So it's going to show you but it's pretty easy to learn those rules, and once you've learned those rules, it'll show you the actual verb and show you what it means. Now you can see that verbs and adjectives are actually being shown with a K. What does that mean? Now K actually stands for kifuku, which just means it's a verb or an adjective with a drop. Now, except for a very rare case, these are always going to be atamadaka or nakadaka. So we can see the number 1. So this is actually atamadaka. But for verbs and adjectives, it's actually more useful just to think of them as verbs that drop, or adjectives that drop, or adjectives and verbs that don't. Because verbs are either heiban or they drop. And if they have a drop, in 99.9% of cases, it's easily predictable where they're going to drop. They're going to drop 1 before the end of the verb. Okay, 1 before the end of the verb. In some cases, that's not the case, like for tsuku, which can be odaka, but those are shown, like odaka verbs are going to be shown as odaka anyway, so you'll be able to see what's going on with those as well. But it's very it's very useful to think of adjectives and verbs just as either kifuku or heiban. Okay guys, so that's that. Let's go on and look at more generation. So guys, let's take a look at the next options. We go to add-ons, we go to config, we take a look here. So audio, we can turn audio on. Let's turn audio on. So now we have everything on. Let's turn audio on and just accents. What if we only want audio and accents? We don't want anything else. Let's see what happens then. Preview, not preview yet. Preview yet will just be normal because we haven't regened it. Alright, let's delete it. We can press F4 to delete. Let's regenerate it. Okay. We have to set the audio field, guys. Let's take a look here. We can set the audio field to the reading field. It's currently set to none. Well, that's the pitch field, audio field here. Let's set it to reading. Press OK. Close. And let's take a look here what happens now. Okay, now with the audio field set appropriately, let's press preview. Whoops, not preview. First we want to regenerate it. Let's press boon again. Okay, now we can see all of the audio has been added. There's actually a space here. There probably shouldn't be a space here, but oh, I know why that's happening. Yeah, we can fix that in the future. But anyways, regardless, look, we can see the audio has been added for the sentence. Now let's go to preview. What happens if we hover over words that don't, like kanji words? You can see that kana words still work with the pitch accent hover. But we don't know that that's going to be read so it's not here. The information is not there, so we can't have that on hover. But we know that that's a heiban word, so it's not actually going to show you when you hover over it, because blue just means heiban, and we just know that that's flat. The sound is flat. But what if we hover over this word hoshita? Hoshita is going to actually show you that it's a kifuku with one, because we can't know if we're studying without the Furigana being generated for every card. We can't actually know what nakadaka and kifuku words are going to be for sure. So if you hover over them, it'll at least show you where the kaku is, which is 1. So it's it's an atamadaka verb, and this one is 2. So it's atsukute, right? But that actually only applies to the dictionary form. So it's atsui, but it's actually atsukute, right? Okay, so remember that this information is only for the non-conjugated dictionary form. Okay, non-conjugated dictionary form for verbs and adjectives. Okay, guys, so if you see purple, remember the information you see here is not for the conjugated form of the verb or adjective. Okay, let's take a look at the last generation option, which is the graph option. Okay, let's take a look at the last option. Here we go. Config. And the last option is graphs. Let's turn graphs to on. Let's in fact just turn graphs and audio on only. Let's see what happens. Now guys, PitchGraphFields has to be set as well. Now we can set it to something separate from audio, but if it's set to the same field as audio, the audio is going to be added after the pitch graphs. Let's take a look. Let's use a different card. Okay, you can see that first the word is added. Now words with a, like after, just means that this doesn't have any other potential what's it called? It doesn't have any other potential pronunciation information within the word here. So for example, if there are any silent sounds or things, they're not shown. But if it doesn't have it means that it's the true pronunciation according to the NHK accent dictionary. But you can see there's no audio for azayaka or azayaka, right? And there's audio for these other words. If we look at the preview, let's take a look. Go to the back of the card. You can see that we have the audio for those words. Okay, so it's pretty self-explanatory, I think, and then you can just combine all of those as you will. I think the best combination personally is, like I showed you guys earlier, turn all of this on, turn Kana DictForm and turn Kana DictForm and pitch on for the group, turn pitch graph off, and then turn these last two on, because individual is the same options except it's for an individual word. Okay, they're the same options. We should actually take a look at them in depth, I guess. So let's turn all of this off. I'll just show you a few examples. So let's turn, how about we turn everything on for the individual export. Okay, individual export, everything on. Let's take a look what happens. Okay, Kango Teki, let's see what happens. We're gonna press go, and it's on overwrite, So it's going to overwrite it with the first word only, guys. It doesn't put all the words. It only puts the first word. Okay, now hyogen. It's there. Okay, now let's take a look at AudioFields and GraphsOnHover, because we can actually change whether they are overwritten or just added in, or if it doesn't add anything if that field is already taken. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so let's take a look at these fields. So the first thing that I want to show you about these fields is that we can do something pretty cool with the audio field and the PitchGraphs field as well. But first, let's look here. Let's set the audio field to clipboard. What happens when we set it to clipboard? Let's click here. Let's click go, and look, the pitch graph is still set to go here, but where's the audio? The audio has been copied to clipboard. You can paste it wherever you'd like. Okay, the next thing, let's actually erase that audio though. We don't want that. We don't need it. Let's look in add-ons, config again. Oh, come on. I'll Control-Shift-A. I should probably just do that. Whatever. I'll just go manually. Okay. Okay, guys, so let's look here. PitchGraph, where is it? PitchGraphFields. We can set this to clipboard as well. Clipboard. Okay, we've set both to clipboard. Now what happens? Think you can predict what happens. Okay, tsuyoi. Let's get that word. Now, the problem is here, if we have the pitch graph and we just press Control V, you're going to see that it's a bunch of HTML. If you want to copy the pitch graph to clipboard, you have to actually press Control Shift X and paste it into the HTML editor for it to work properly. See? Now it works properly. Okay, guys, so just keep that in mind. If you want a pitch graph copied to clipboard, you probably want it to be, you probably want to press Control Shift X and paste it on the back side of the card, or it's not going to work properly. Okay, let's look at add-ons again. And of course, we can just simply have them go to two different fields. We'll put this one on reading. And I don't know what another, oh, focus. Let's put it into the focus field for now, just so you guys can see. Alright, so let's put them into different fields. See what happens. Think you can guess what happens, but let's see what happens. Okay, and it's on overwrite. The graph goes here. The sound goes there. And again, let's take a look what happens if we set this to a different mode. There's an add mode. Let's set them both to add mode. See what happens. Okay, they're both set to add mode. Okay, press. Look, they've been added instead of overwriting the field. So we can put it here. Okay, it just adds it on to the field. Okay, and if we want to say what in particular should be added, or like in between, like what delimiter we want to use, we can actually put another semicolon here, and say we don't want one line break, we can actually put two line breaks. The default is one single line break in HTML, which is a BR in these it's less than BR then greater than sign. Okay, but let's say we want to put BR and then audio, or here we want to just put add, we want to put graph. Oh, actually, let's put a line break first. We want to put a line break first, then we want to put graph. Now on overwrites, guys, the first line break is actually ignored. So if you have two line breaks, the first one will be ignored if you're trying to overwrite an empty field or add to an empty field. Let's take a look what happens. Okay, let's do okay, see? Graph has been added with the delimiter that we've chosen, and audio has been added with two breaks and the delimiter that we chose. Okay, so we can change the delimiter if we want, but that's up to you know, that's up to you, like, or you can just keep it on default. Now let's see what happens if we go to config. Let's erase this. Now this only, the delimiter only works with add, guys. We can't have another field unless we're using add. Let's put no. Reading no. No overwrite. We don't want it to overwrite. So if there's anything there, it's not going to be added. If there's nothing, it will be added. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Okay. I just thought of a few things I can do to make it even better, but for now this is pretty alright, I think, so we'll leave it there. Alright, so look, there's nothing there, so they're added. Now let's try hito. There's something there, so it's not added. You see, only this is added because these fields are already taken, so nothing is added. Okay, guys, that's pretty much it for these PitchGraphFields and AudioFields. Okay, guys, let's take a look. So the next thing I want to take a look at briefly is let's generate this whole card. Did I turn everything off? I forget what I did. I may have. Oops. Config. Oh yeah, everything's off. Okay, let's turn the first three options on. Okay, the first three options are on now. Let's generate this. Okay, there are actually no. Oh, here's a word. Okay, this word has two different potential pitch accents. So let's take a look. Preview. Oh, we see the pitch shape here, right? A diamond. Now, what if we don't want that pitch shape to be shown? We can go to config. There is an option for that. Where is it? Display shapes. Do we want display shapes? Nah, we're good. We're just taking the first pitch accent. That's enough for us. We don't need all of that fancy shape-a-rooney stuff, right? Okay, so it's gone. Easy, okay? So that's that setting. And let's go on to the next one. Okay, guys, and just really briefly, remember that if you want to turn the GraphsOnHover off, I think I already kind of covered that before. You just turn this to off, and then when you hover, nothing, you know, no graphs will come up. All right, so let's take a look at the next thing. Okay, the next thing should be the Katakana conversion, I guess. We're already there, man. We're moving right along now. Alright, so we can turn this to on. Katakana conversion will work on all fields that are wrapped. But at the current moment, the JavaScript is added to every card. So you want to be careful when you use. Well, actually, with the JavaScript one, or with the Katakana conversion, it doesn't really matter because the JavaScript is very tiny. But once you're using the historical converter, you want to be a little bit careful. But I'll show you that in one moment. Alright, but I'll change it in the future so it's only added to cards that are wrapped. Alright, so let's take a look. Look! So, 周辺よりちょっと高い大地. Okay? So we can see that it's been converted to Katakana. Now, a really cool thing that we can do if you really want to like torture yourself again is turn it to reading mode and then just enjoy reading everything in Katakana for a little while. So let's take a look. The historical conversion mode. Add-ons, config, historical conversion. Now we're going to turn Katakana conversion off, which is you know, it works with historical conversion, but let's just see what historical conversion is first. Let's set it to kanji. Now kanji is going to convert characters to their old kyujitai forms. Now before, up till World War II, guys, Japan used old characters called kyujitai, and they did not use the current characters, you know, simplified characters that they use now. So if we go ahead and look at a card, when that mode is on, it's changed to the old mode when it's wrapped. Only when it's wrapped. You see, this field is not wrapped, so it's not changed. It's not. Look, if you see here, this field is not wrapped because it's not set in the configuration. Expression is set on both. I see. So this is not set. to work. Let's set the expression to the front as well. Front, and let's set it to colored hover, maybe, just to set it to something different. Okay, let's take a look now. Cards, and you can see that it works. It's changed to its old version, and actually everything will work as normal too. If you go ahead and generate it and then go to your card, it will still work properly. Now let's look at the other option here for this, add-ons, config. Now this is probably pretty useless for people who aren't trying to get into old historical Japanese, but I think it can be really helpful because you can turn your deck, like if you later decide to get into historical Japanese, you can just turn your deck into like the converted, you can turn the conversion mode on and then just get practice when you're doing your regular Anki as well, which is pretty cool. So let's take a look here. Now certain words before had different kana actually. Like the kana was not the same as it is now. Let's look at tsukawanai, tsukaeru. These are just some examples. If you want to look more into it, you can look into it yourself. So let's take a look. Now the converter only works if there are no spaces between the te and the ita or iru or whatever. So let's take a look though. Cards. Okay, you can see it's changed. It's not with the wa, it's changed to ha, right? And then it's not e, it's he, but it's read the same as we do now. And then the e is written with the old y-i letter, which is e, the y-i letter. Okay guys, so yeah, that's pretty much it for this historical mode. If you want both on at the same time, you can just write in both instead of kanji or kana, okay? So kanji or kana, you can just instead, let's get both, you have both. Should I show you? No, I'm not even going to bother. I'm going to turn it back off, okay guys? Turn it back off. Turn it on. Let me know if you have any problems with it. Now, look ahead is pretty simple. This is how many look aheads you want when you're doing an individual export. This also counts. Like if you're looking up a word that already has generated Furigana, it's also going to count whatever's in the Furigana. And for verbs, that can get really long if you have the Furigana's the regular reading, then you have the dictionary form, and then you have the accents. It can get really long, so it's probably pretty good to have it pretty high. Around 25 is where it's at by default. If you have any you won't have I don't think anyone will have performance issues. It's probably a pretty good place to just leave it, in my opinion. Okay, let's take a look. Is there anything else? ActiveFields, AddMIAJapaneseTemplate. Okay, now guys, the template is the actually note type. I should actually name this note type, but right now it's going to stay template because that's just what it is. If you don't want it to add that, if it doesn't exist, for example, say we want to delete the note type, the MIA note type, we could go to, I'm not going to actually do it guys, but tools, manage note types, we can go to it, we can delete it, but next time, if we just delete it and leave that setting on, next time we restart, it's going to re-add the note type for us. So we can just turn this off if we don't want it to re-add the note type. Okay, now the last thing I want to actually not the last thing. Right here, guys, say we want to change the colors. So ColorsHANOK. Okay, whoops. That's Heiba, Natamadaka, Nakadaka, Odaka, Kifuku. We want to change it. Any CSS color here will do. So that means we can do hex colors, or we can just put like blue, for example. So now Heiban is blue. Let's take a look what happens when Heiban is blue. Browse. Let's generate this. Is there any Heiban? Good. Shuhen is Heiban. Preview. Heiban is now blue. Okay? So it's as simple as that. You can change the colors to whatever you'd like. Oh, another feature. Let's take a look. Config. config, we can change the Furigana font size. Now this is in percentage from 1 being 10% of the parent font to 20%. 4 is pretty good at 40%. But look, let's set it to 10. That's 100% the size of the parent font. And it's only a number from 1 to 10, guys. You can set it between 1 and 10. Look, now the Furigana is fucking massive. Alright, so so just be careful with it. I'd keep it at the default of 4. Maybe you even want it even smaller if your font's really big. You might want it even smaller. Whoops, I'm not supposed to be in here. Let's go into add-ons and let's go into config again. Let's change it back to 4 because that's where I like it, and that's, you know, this is my config file, so we'll keep it there. So historical conversion is still on for some reason. Let's turn it off. Let's make sure it's off now. Maybe I forgot to turn it off before. Reading, no. Profile, all. Pitch graph, look ahead, katakana, individual, historical conversion, GraphsOnHover, FuriganaFontSize, display shapes. I think that's it, guys, except for buffered output. Now, what is buffered output? Okay, 1 second. Let me show you what. Okay, guys. Now, buffered output is for very long texts. Let me take a news article right now. Let's find a news article that's pretty long, and let's go ahead and run it through the generator. We'll go to add. Actually, we'll just do it right here. Forget this text. We're gonna erase it, and we're going to paste in an entire news article. Now it's gonna take a while to generate, I'd imagine, so let's be a little patient with it, okay? There we go, an entire news article, looking pretty snazzy, and let's generate it. Okay, now while we wait patiently for this generation, which I imagine will take quite some time because it's quite a lot of text, and of course, like I said before, it's looking for all compounds. It's doing work to be as accurate as possible, and as a result, it's gonna be a little bit. It's gonna take a little time if you're trying to generate a wall of text. So let's wait for it patiently. Actually, I won't make you guys wait. Oh, never mind. I guess I made you wait because it's over. Okay, now let's look at the preview. Okay, I guess this wasn't long enough because it still loads almost instantly on my device. But let's press Control C, and what we're gonna do is we're just gonna keep pasting this in. Paste, 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 paste. I don't know. You shouldn't do this, guys. You shouldn't do this. Or if you have a slow device, this buffer mode is designed for if you have a slow device as well. So let's go into preview mode. Now we're waiting. See, we're sitting there waiting. Still not that long. It's actually pretty quick. But say your device is slow and you don't want to sit there waiting for like a brief second for it to load your wall of text, then you can try out buffered mode. Let's take a look. Now this, I recommend everybody just keep this off unless you have like a really slow device. I think any modern smartphone, any modern computer, any modern tablet will have not too big of an issue running this with moderately sized text, which is what a kanji or what a card usually consists of. But where is it? Buffer mode, buffered output. Oh, it'll be right here. Okay, so let's turn it to on. And let's see what happens now. Now, guys, this is experimental. Oh, you see, it's going to buffer the output. And now, look, HTML is added at the end. It's added at the end. So for the moment being, because when you add, if you guys know something about code, if you're adding to the HTML, it's going to automatically close it, and it will make mistakes. But you see, all of those symbols are replaced with the HTML once the document is done. But this allows you to start, if you have a slow device, it allows you to start reading while it's still loading in the text. I would recommend almost no one use this. I don't think anyone needs it. I was just doing it to play around with massive walls of text. But it's probably not necessary. Okay, guys, I think we've made it through everything. Oh, I can't believe it. That took a while. Okay, guys. Once this plugin is ready for full public release, I'm going to go ahead and do a much better job at, you know, showing it off to you guys. Actually, right now, let me go ahead and turn the camera on and show you how this works on mobile devices as well. I'll give you a little peek at that momentarily. Guys, one last thing actually that I have to tell you before I show you this on mobile. You have to actually go into the preferences, and when make sure that if you make any changes to the converter settings or any later I'm going to add this into the add-on so it'll happen automatically, but if you make any changes to the converter or ActiveFields settings, you have to make sure that on next sync, or actually if you just make any changes to the config at all, because if you make any changes on GraphsOnHover and things, you're going to have to change this because it changes the template in the background. So you want to make sure that you do on next sync whenever you change something in the configuration, okay? So if you keep the configuration as is, you don't have to change anything. But if you're changing around the configuration, make sure you do a full sync. Okay, hopefully it won't take too long for you guys to do that, but you have to do that because Anki won't update card templates unless you do that. Alright, hey guys, so I'm going to just really quickly show you this on my really bad webcam. Sorry, I don't have the patience to hook up my other camera at the current moment, but you can see that this works normally on mobile devices as well, and if you change the text it will reflect automatically. You know, it'll reflect automatically because of the JavaScript, which also works on mobile devices. You know, it should work normally on Anki Mobile, Anki Web, Anki Droid. It should work on everything. Let me know if it doesn't. Let me know if you have any issues. Just let me know on Discord, and we're gonna work towards getting those fixed with periodical bug fixes. But now I'm gonna move on and start working on the next add-on. Should I say what it is? Maybe I'll say, maybe hint, it's like a little something to do with Chinese. So we're gonna work on that next. We're gonna take a little J break, if we so to speak. Take a little J break, work on Chinese for a little bit, and then have quite a lot of stuff planned after that. But anyways, just slowly fix this, and once it's 100%, we'll, you know, pretty much 100%, we'll release it publicly.